Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans are 0-4, 26-0 loss to Houston yesterday, and rock bottom maybe lower than we thought it could be. Parker, how's it going? How was your weekend?
I was on a high after the Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia game on Saturday night. It was such a great day of college football viewing for me. And then I was texting with our good friend Connor Newt, and he reminded me that we had to watch the Titans the next day. And I watched the Titans, and now I'm not doing as well.
Yeah, it really brings you down from what was a phenomenal Saturday of college football. I mean, just all the way around. I was out there at the Vandy game. They got the win over Utah State, scored 55 points. And then I came back and got to sit down, watch the end of Ole Miss LSU, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and all of the big games at night. Bama beating Georgia and Oregon, outlasting Penn State in double overtime. And then we had to watch the Titans play yesterday. And that was one of the worst games I think I've ever watched in my life. Like, in terms of just like football, like entertaining football. And the Titans they didn't move the ball. When they did, they missed field goals. It was ugly. It was ugly. I think that is the best possible way to put it. That was an ugly game, but the good news is it only took like 2 hours and 45 minutes. So at least they didn't subject us to a long game of them playing that horrible. It was a quick one. And the Titans now 0-4, 26-0 loss against Houston. And you know that this team doesn't like losing to Houston. The ownership does not like losing to Houston. I felt like this had to be the last straw, right? Like that was kind of my thought process was, hey, you get blown out, you get shut out on the road in Houston. That's probably it. Brian Callahan, as of now, is still scheduled to speak at 1:30 this afternoon. So it doesn't seem like that was the last straw for ownership, for Chad Brinker, for Mike Borgonzi. And it seems like Brian Callahan's going to get at least another week. But if not now, when? Is my question. Like, if you're not going to fire him after that disaster yesterday with all of the things that have happened in the first 3 weeks of the year, then at this point it feels like you might as well just let him go, let him have the rest of the year. Because if you're not going to fire him now, when are you going to?
I'm ready. I'm completely on board. Get rid of Callahan. The only problem is if you get rid of Callahan, his dad's going with him, and then you don't have an offensive line coach. It's not going to make anything better. Might make things worse, which I don't know how things can get much worse. But if he's not going to get fired now, you still have to play Arizona. You still have to play Las Vegas on the road. I don't see them doing it now during this 3-game road stretch, but then you welcome Mike Vrabel to town. The following week, the Titans are 0-6 and then get blanked by the Patriots. I think that's it.
In our YouTube chat, William Jones asked, worst game, did you not see the 59-0 loss to the Patriots? I'm not saying worst game in terms of Titans performance. I'm saying worst game in terms of having to be subjected to watching it. Like, there was nothing interesting about that game. At least in the Patriots game, Randy Moss had a huge day, and Chris Johnson actually ran for 150, 175 yards. So like at the very least, there was something interesting about that game, even though it was horrible to watch for the Titans. That game had nothing interesting going on. Neither team got into the red zone until the very end of the third quarter. The Titans possessed the ball for less than 14 minutes in the first 3 quarters of the game. It was horrible to watch. That was what I was saying in terms of just like entertainment value, not in terms of how bad they played. The Titans have certainly played worse games than they played yesterday throughout their history. I don't know how you let Brian Callahan keep coaching this team. And I get what you're saying, Parker, of like what good comes out of it. Like, yes, you probably lose your offensive line coach too, and who knows what that does for Cam Ward's development. At this point, I see no reason to keep him there. It feels like everybody kind of knows it's a when, not an if he's going to get fired. At this point, I say rip off the Band-Aid. Mike from Clarksville on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says, what's the timeline for Callahan to get fired without getting a win? I thought it would be losing to Houston, let alone getting shut out by them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think at this point, if he's not fired after that game, you mentioned the Patriots game. And like I think it's possible. It's possible that he gets fired after the Patriots game, but I think it's more likely if they're waiting, it's probably for the bye week, right? Like I think that's probably what it is that they're just going to wait until the week 10 bye. They'll pull the plug then and then let the interim finish it out for the last month and a half. But I just don't see how we can go through another 6 weeks of this, of just like this team is not good on the roster, but they're not playing well. It's like how yesterday, and this isn't on Brian Callahan. In fact, like Brian Callahan, in terms of like decisions that he made yesterday and penalties were pretty good. Like yesterday wasn't completely on Brian Callahan in terms of the way 2 of the 3 losses we're talking about things that Brian Callahan did. Obviously, everything falls on the head coach. But man, the team was just bad yesterday. L'Jarius Sneed was horrible yesterday, by the way. Like that was the one player. There were a lot of players who were bad yesterday, but L'Jarius Sneed, the moment I realized L'Jarius Sneed was going to have a bad day was the first little crossing route to Nico Collins, where he was like wide open. There was nobody within 15 yards of Nico Collins. And I hear Ross Tucker on the broadcast go, well, it looks like L'Jarius Sneed's playing zone, but everybody else is out there playing man. And I was like, well, that's not a good sign, right? Like
it's terrible.
I heard Ross Tucker
so
say
bad.
that. I was like that. I really hope that's not true. But yeah, to hear that, well, yeah, L'Jarius Sneed's playing zone. Everybody else is playing man. And then the second and 33. I mean, when a team gives you back-to-back penalties and then goes backwards on 1st and 30, and it's 2nd and 33, you cannot give up a first down. You have to get off the field. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like the Titans defense was bending but not breaking most of the day. And when L'Jarius Sneed played press on 2nd and 33 and got toasted and gave up 37 yards on 2nd and 33, that was when it was game over.
Who?
Yeah, that was.
He knows who Nico Collins is now.
Yeah,
that play, the 2nd and 33. That was one of the worst plays I've seen in the NFL this season.
I mean, just let him run right by you. And on 2nd and 33, that is the one thing that cannot happen. That is the one thing that can't happen. So, L'Jarius Sneed, that was. We said that maybe the Rams game was his best game as a Titan. That was his worst game as a Titan. Small sample size, but that was horrible. And that was it was 6-0 at that point. It felt like the Titans, if they could finally just get anything going on offense, they had a chance to be in that game. And as soon as that 37-yard pass happened, the game was over. I mean, the Texans rolled from there on out. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's get to our phone lines. We do ask everybody keep it PG on the phone lines today. I know everybody. I know everybody's upset. It was a bad game yesterday, but let's keep it PG. We start with Trey on our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Trey, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Good morning, guys.
Morning, Trey.
What? Well. The premonitions has come true. Everything I said about Cam Ward has actually came through. Cam Ward is trash. He's trash because mentally he can't get basic 8th grade plays. He can't run a basic 8th grade JV play. This isn't the coaching. This isn't the management. This isn't the ownership. This is on Cam Ward. They're running the same basic plays. And I don't understand why people don't understand that he's not a good player. And for people to call after me and say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I do know what I'm talking about because he's not good. He's just not good. And like y'all said, this is the bottom of the barrel. I can't even watch it. You can't even watch this crap. And for Brian Callahan to sit there and antagonize people for asking decent questions is absurd. Answer the questions. Your team sucks. And that's it. Do something about it. We need wins. We don't need a pat on the back. Oh, it's going to be all right. We got time. No, we don't have time. Win or get off the pot. Thank you. Have a good day.
Trey, thanks for the call.
Trey for offensive coordinator. He clearly knows what he's talking about.
We're going to get into Cam Ward because that was Cam Ward's worst game since he's joined the NFL. It was a bad game yesterday from Cam Ward. And if you watch that game and don't think that Cam Ward was a large part of the problem on offense, then you're watching with two-tone colored glasses because he was bad. It was not a good day for Cam Ward. He had like 4 yards per attempt and completed 40% of his passes. You cannot have that if you're Cam Ward. And it didn't look good. Like the Broncos game, you could look at the stats and say it was a bad game, but you watch the tape and you said, okay, he was let down by a lot of his supporting cast, offensive line, wide receivers. But yesterday was on him. He missed a whole lot of passes. He didn't get any kind of rhythm going. He was bad yesterday. But it's game 4 of his NFL career. Let's not say he's a bad player. I think Cam Ward is going to be a very good player in this league. He was not a good player yesterday.
What was I telling you before we got on the air? That I'm very happy that the Titans drafted Cam Ward when they did, because everyone was talking about this next quarterback class in 2026. And so far, Nussmeier hasn't looked great. Arch isn't even going to declare for the draft. Lenore Sellers has struggled to get going. Cade Klubnik, are you sure you want to draft Cade Klubnik? So I'm glad that the Titans drafted him when he did. But guys, it's 4 games. And look at what's going on around him.
Yeah, Cam Ward is going to be fine. I have no worries about Cam Ward long-term as a player. Yesterday was a bad game from Cam Ward. And I hate it. I forget what Twitter account. I think it was The Score on Twitter. Tweeted out at halftime and called Cam Ward Jamarcus Russell. And I'm like, can we chill out on this? Like, again, he is less than a month into his NFL career. He's going to be okay. He was bad yesterday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We got loaded phone lines. We will get to all of you coming up next. We are off and running on this Monday. Also, I have some thoughts on the play calling yesterday in Bo Hardegree's debut with the Titans. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly reacting to the Titans' 26-0 loss yesterday to the Houston Texans. They are now 0-4. Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action. From queso to kickoffs, this is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12 South. Don't miss a snap doubleheader of Monday Night Football tonight on ESPN and ABC. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's start with Dustin from Hopkinsville on our phone lines. Dustin, what you got for us this morning?
Good morning, fellas. Yeah, I can't stay silent on Trey any longer. I'm sorry, buddy, but I was going to start the phone call with thank you, but anyway. So Cam Ward is the bright spot on this team. And you thought that Brian Callahan handing over his play calling to the quarterback's coach and taking time away from Cam Ward, okay, Brian Callahan made the playbook. Guess who's calling the plays from that playbook? The OC. Guess what the OC did? I only watched the first half. I got a phone call, new customer cutting grass. I'm going to cut that grass, get that cash. I can't watch my tight.
Smart man, Dustin. Smart man.
That's a good move.
I was so happy afterward. I listened, and I heard the defense implode as well at the end of the game. However, this quarterback coach is using the same playbook, and he did everything right for a minute. The run game was going, but then at the wrong time, he's tried to do little trick play. We don't need trickery. We need standard football. We don't need tricks. We don't need pulling rabbits out of the hat. What are you talking about? This Cam Ward has made some deadly throws, some to the end zone, to Manor. Ridley can't catch the ball. Chig's doing a lot better. They ain't using Gunnar Helm like they should. Let these rookies eat, dude. Like, you have nothing to lose other than your damn job, and you can't put the rookies in who are just trying to get on the field. And I'm sorry to all these Titan fans who, like, hey, you dog your team. You're not a real fan. No, I'm the biggest, realest fan you're ever going to meet. You're wrong. You dead wrong. If you ain't dogging your team and you're going and buying tickets, I don't know how else to say this, but you're the chump, okay? The reason she keeps putting this product on the field is because you keep filling the stands, all right? We bleed blue, but, buddy, we bleeding out. I have no more blood. What are you talking about? And let's hit on L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed's knees. I'm not going to say who made that little analogy. We all know who did. He was in the afternoon. Somebody needs to yell at this team. But Granddaddy Longleg, Granddaddy Knees decided, I'm going to make a little sly comment. But did you notice he left it a little open? He's like, I'm not going to get too ugly with it. I'm going to act like I really don't know the guy. But if I was Collins, he did the right thing. But And I'm saying this last because y'all may cut it out. I'm not going to cuss or anything. But I would have said the last time he took a shot at somebody, he ended up in court. Maybe that's why he don't know who I am, because he's too busy in court. And he showed him exactly who he was Sunday. And I knew that was what was going to happen. And it's laughable. See, some of the Titans fans are where I was. I was unhappy and sad and depressed. And I'll send y'all the warning that won me the yacht rock tickets the other day again, the warning label. But I've been there. I'm in the insanity crazy part where I see the stuff and I laugh at it. I giggle, I point and I grin, you know, like that's where I am. And like, I'm going to have to check myself into the insane, what is it? The ward or whatever.
Insane asylum.
The psych ward.
Yeah, man. And then I seen another post the other day that had nothing to do with sports and my Titans, and it said, what did you do to lower your depression? I put on there, I said, I quit watching my Titans. Guys, this is Callahan. It showed up last season at halftime every dang game. We still were in it. And the dude, I don't care. He is not a tenured coach. When he says, well, we don't really have time to make adjustments, you're making adjustments. No, you in there. You're on the way to the locker room, already talking to the guys up in the skybox. What are we going to do at the half? You're talking as you go, and y'all meet in there, and you're telling you guys, man, he's lost this locker room. I don't care what you say. And Simmons did the right thing. Simmons, he's seen it last year too. He said, nah, man, the fans talking about me. I can't get a sack. I was playing team ball. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to speed up. And he showed that speed yesterday. Dude's going to eat. Let him go. Trade Cam Ward. Unless you're going to sell this team or, you got Organzi, let that dude cook. Treat it like a stock. Buy it. Forget about it for 5 years. Because, man, I'm at my wit's end. I'm about to go be another AFC South fan somewhere else just to spite her.
Thank you for the call, Dustin. Lots to get to there. With the play calling, I agree with him on the trick plays. What was the point of trying to run a flea flicker when your offensive line can barely hold up for a regular pass? Like it was horrible. That was early. And then a couple series later, the Chimdike throwback pass. Right now, just try and run your regular offense. You're having enough trouble doing that. We don't need the trick plays. Outside of that, I didn't think Hardegree was, I didn't think there was any egregious play calling issues. The trick plays were bad, but overall there was no rhythm to the offense. And, even though it wasn't like he was completely botching the play calls, it wasn't good overall.
No. And I was watching that game yesterday, and I was one of the sickos that sat through that entire thing, even though I probably should have been like Dustin, went to go cut the grass or something. But
yeah,
when he started running trick plays, I'm like, the Titans are not the Detroit Lions. Why don't the Titans master the simple stuff first before we get to the trick plays? You got to crawl before you walk, and you got to walk before you run.
I got to say, watching that Sunday Night Football game last night where 40 points were put on the board by both teams, it amazed me that is even the same sport that the Titans try and play. It did not look like the same game that the Titans were trying to play earlier in the day. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I do want to mention that Dustin said the L'Jarius Sneed comment. L'Jarius did not take the shots, according to the court record. So let's put that out there. Let's go to our phone lines again. Kevin in Nashville is on the line. Kevin, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
I've been better.
I'm good. Hey, what people don't seem to remember is that the play calls that were called yesterday, they're Callahan plays. We did flea flickers last year. So, yeah, Bo was named the play caller, but he just chose out of what Callahan already had designated for the game, basically. And as far as people calling for Callahan to be fired, I don't see the Titans firing him. I really don't. I think they're going to let this ride out. And if it goes as bad as what everybody thinks, I believe that Amy will clean house and Brinker, Beganzi, all of them will be gone and she'll start over again. I just don't see her firing him right now or even after the New England loss because people are already saying we're dysfunctional, which we are. But if you go through and you get the firing and then put an interim coach in and then come back in less than 8 months and then get a whole new coach, a new regime, you're not going to get any good free agents that's going to want to come here because the franchise is not stable. And another thing, and I'm going to get off the phone, Cam Ward, and I said this in the beginning, he lacks what the Titans need in a quarterback. He doesn't have the ability to control the ball. And what I mean by that is all his passes are hard. Doesn't matter if you're 3 feet in front of him or 30 yards in front of him, they're all coming in hot. There's no touch in his passing, and he has no accuracy. So when they got him, they really should have picked Jason Dart, honestly, or Shador, because both of them have and they're able to control the ball. Cam Ward is really a Will Levis 2.0, but the difference is his gadget, sidearm, and different type of cross-the-field throws work where Will Levis's didn't. But to me, Will Levis is a better quarterback. Hey, I'll hang up, and y'all have a good day.
Oh
Thank
my.
you.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Disagree on all the quarterback takes there.
Oh, my gosh.
Again, everybody in the NFL would have taken Cam Ward over Jackson Dart and Shador Sanders. The Giants tried to trade multiple high picks, first-round picks, second-round picks, to try and take Cam Ward. I understand Jackson Dart looked fine yesterday. They got to win. But that it was never a decision. If the Giants had the chance to take Cam Ward over Jackson Dart, they would have. So, again, it's irrelevant. I thought it was funny. Kevin referred to the Patriots game as the New England loss. Are we just going to start calling the future games that instead of the game? It's like, oh, well, maybe once we get past the Arizona loss or the Las Vegas loss, maybe they'll fire him then. It's like, are we just resigned that this team's going to go 0-17?
Well, how have the callers gotten progressively more delusional? I think Dustin from Hopkinsville is probably the best one, but Cam Ward's not. I mean, it's too early to tell, right? And then Will Levis 2.0.
It is funny. Most of these callers have some good points early on, and then as they continue to go, there's at some point they start to lose me. Like Cam Ward was the consensus number one quarterback in this class.
Will Levis was second round pick.
Right. Like if you're going to give up on anything with this team, the only thing you shouldn't be giving up on is Cam Ward. And I understand he did not look good yesterday. He was bad. That was a bad game from Cam Ward. But if you're looking for hope, Cam Ward's all there is, right? Like that's pretty much it. And to be fair, Cam, the first two throws he made yesterday, both were really good. Like quick out route, got it out fast to Calvin Ridley for a first down, and then another great throw down the field to Elikai Manor. Like two really, really good throws. And then Azeez Al-Shire tries to take his head off. They don't call it. And from then on out, it kind of devolved into just a mediocre attack, if that. So, like, Cam Ward got off to a good start yesterday. He couldn't find a rhythm after that. But to say that he's not the guy the Titans should have taken, way too early for that. Way too early.
Yeah. I thought that first throw to Alec was phenomenal. And that's what you're going to get with Cam Ward. Now, as the game went on, Cam Ward was not great yesterday by any means. But there's a lot of that going around. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the interception at some point, so I'll save my thoughts on that.
Yeah, but, I mean, the interception, we can talk about it now. Like, it was a bad throw. But I saw some people trying to defend it and saying, like, oh, it was tipped. That's not on Cam. It's like, no. I
was one of those people, but then I went back and I watched it a little bit. I do think it was, yes, it was on Cam Ward. I thought part of it was on Alec too, because if you go back and you watch, he should have just sat down.
Right. Maybe they're just not on the same page. And I guess that's true.
He drifted a little bit, but also that ball was behind. It did hit off the hands, came in hot. It's not just one person's fault. There's blame to go around.
Right. I think we don't know what the expectation is on that play. So that's a good point. We don't know if Cam Ward expected Alec to stop where he threw the ball. But based on what we saw, that ball was behind him, ended up tipping right into Derek Stingley's hand. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get more into the specifics of the game throughout the show. We also have some college football talk because we can't spend 3 hours on this team. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could get through that without crying. I have a question for Titans fans out there because it's been so bad for the last basically 3 years since that 7-game losing streak started. When is the last time you felt joy watching Titans football? I have a question for everyone out there. I have a moment in my mind, and maybe two. But when was the last time that you felt joy watching Titans football? We asked the question coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall today prior to the Monday Night Football game. Head up there and watch the Jets, Dolphins, and Bengals-Broncos games, plus ask about Circus' giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans-Raiders game in October. Next man up. Off and running on this Monday morning here on 102.5 The Game. That was Cam Ward, frustrated to say the least after falling to 0-4 in his young NFL career. Feel like he summed it up about perfectly of what the Titans are right now. They're ass. And they have
maybe a few expletives in there as well.
Yes. And they haven't been good for a while. They have not been good for a long time. I said it on Friday. I'm worried it's me because I moved here right in the middle of that run when the Titans were getting to 7-3 in 2022. And I believe since I arrived in Nashville just under 3 years ago, the Titans have won 11 games in that span.
Well, we won't have a true answer unless you move back.
Unless I just leave.
So,
maybe I'll get run out of here with,
hasta la vista. I'm just kidding. We're happy to have you here. But we're not happy that we have to talk about the Titans every Monday.
Well, I have the question because it's been a rough couple of seasons. When was the last time that you felt joy watching the Titans? Because definitely wasn't this year. Anybody who says this year is lying. Anybody who says last year is probably lying. So I've got some good answers here on the text line and in the YouTube chat. You let us know, 615-737-1025. When was the last time that you were happy watching the Titans? A lot of answers kind of like this. 2181 says when Tannehill laced up. There was a lot of joy in the Tannehill years. It's vague. This one from Dustin from Hopkinsville is funny to me because he says when we beat the Chiefs and in the playoffs. I'm like, that was 8 years ago, and the Titans have won multiple playoff games since then.
Yeah, no, 2020, 21, 2019.
That was 2017.
Yeah.
When it was 2018, but the 2017 season.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about 2019 when the Titans made the AFC Championship game. It's crazy to think that the Titans were one game away from the Super Bowl 6 years ago.
Right.
It feels like an eternity.
Less than 6 years ago, because it was right before COVID when they almost went to the Super Bowl. Robert says that year, Vrabel ending Tom's career with New England. I find it hard to believe you didn't enjoy that game the next week, beating the Ravens in Baltimore. But 7988 says the 0-3 Monday night game last year. You beat Tyler Huntley. Like, I watched that game, and I guess maybe it made me smirk a little bit that they didn't lose, but like, I wouldn't say I felt joy. The most popular answer is right before the Bengals playoff game. And I understand that because that is the last time I think Titans fans truly believed that they were close to winning a Super Bowl, right? Like, that is the last time that Titans fans looked at it and said, man, we could go win a Super Bowl. There has not been anything like that since then. But I think that the last time I felt joy, I haven't seen this from anybody yet. Yeah, I haven't seen it from anybody. The last time I felt joy watching the Titans was Will Levis's 4th touchdown pass against the Falcons in his debut. When that ball hit Nick Westbrook-Akine in the hands in the back of the end zone, I was inside Nissan Stadium, and I think my spirit ascended. I thought we had the quarterback. He made that throw, rolling right, throwing back across, and dropped it in the bucket in the end zone. That was the last moment that I can remember feeling happy about the Titans. I don't know if I can find another one. I saw somebody mentioned the comeback against Miami. And yeah, that Miguel on our text line says when they came back and beat the Dolphins down 27-13 late. So I get that. That's a good one too. I think it was that Falcons game with Will Levis. Like I felt like they had the quarterback at that point. And obviously it didn't work out. Besides that, I think I would go back to the Packers game in 2022. Like that
before everything started going downhill.
Right. At that point, the team was 7-3. You just went to Lambeau on a Thursday night and won. It was Austin Hooper had 2 touchdowns in that game, right? And Tannehill threaded one right down the middle to him.
Traylon Burks
the end.
Had a great game.
Burks had the catch where he called Jair Alexander too small. Like, yeah, that was a game when I think everybody was like, man, this team could actually be a playoff contender again. And then obviously things fell off. Buddy Picks on the YouTube chat says the last time I felt joy was the primetime Green Bay game that Todd Downing celebrated a little too much. I think that could be the last time. But if anything more recently, it would be the Levis 4 touchdown game. Because I swear when he threw that ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine, I was like, oh my God, we found the quarterback. Finally. And obviously, here we are less than 2 years later, and Will Levis is in California, barely on the team anymore. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We are asking you the question, when is the last time that you were happy watching the Titans? When did you find joy watching the Titans? Because obviously it hasn't been the last couple of years. The Titans have won, 9 of their last, if I can do quick math in my head, 11, 14, 18, 9 of their last 34 games. Does that sound right? If I did the quick math in my head right, then it would be 9 of their last 34. I might be doing that wrong, but yeah, it's been bad. And yesterday, getting closer to rock bottom as the Titans fell to 0-4, a 26-0 loss against the Houston Texans yesterday. Now continuing this road trip, they'll take on the Cardinals on Sunday and the Raiders on the week after before returning home to face the Patriots. 615-737-1025. We are asking you the question, when is the last time you felt joy watching the Titans? We will get to your phones coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025. The game finishing up hour number 1. Reaction Monday after the Titans fall 26-0 in Houston yesterday. Tennessee 0-4. And I actually did the math wrong. I was trying to do quick math in my head of how bad the Titans have been over the last 3-ish seasons. They are actually 9-36 over their last 45 games. So I gave them even more credit than I thought they had been doing. 9-36. That is a 20% winning percentage for those of you keeping score at home.
And Brian Callahan is 3-18 in his first 21 games as a head coach, which is the worst in Titans history.
Correct. It is below 15%. Actually, not the worst in Titans history. Ken Wisnott was 3-20, but he's getting there.
It was worst 20 game start.
Oh God, yes.
Or yeah, it
tied,
may not be the
tied
worst
with Ken.
Yeah,
but Ken Wisnott had the Cardinals before, so like in terms of his overall coaching history, After the Raiders loss, Callahan will be right there at 3-20. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're asking the question to you: when is the last time you felt joy watching the Titans? We've gotten some good answers on the text line. Let's go to the phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Brian is on the line. Thanks for calling, Brian. When was the last time you felt joy watching the Titans?
You know, guys, honestly, the Green Bay game, I was so lucky to afford the tickets. I was front row, 50-yard line, right behind the Titans bench. Got my picture with Amy Adams. My buddy and I had a great time. It was a beautiful, beautiful scenario up there with the, it looked like a snow globe in there with all the snow. We go in there as underdogs and just take care of business. And I thought legitimately that we had arrived. I was like, all right, guys, we have turned the corner. As you said, Traylon Burks had a great game. Tannehill had a great game. Our defense played well. I was like, my gosh, we have made it. And much like you said earlier, I feel like I have cursed our Titans as a season ticket member. I feel like ever since then, we have just gone downhill. So I will never, I believe, take another road trip to Green Bay, as much as I loved it. And that was the Mecca. But that was it, man. That was the last time I have actually felt the joy of being a Titans fan.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Brian. I think that's a good answer because it is, we went through before the Bengals playoff game. I think that's the last time Titans fans felt like they had a chance to win a Super Bowl. But that Packers game was the last time they felt like they were true contenders, and haven't really felt that since that game. 9-36. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Edward is on the line wanting to chime in. Edward, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
I enjoy your show while I'm running in the mornings. It keeps me moving on. I want to make a comment about when the last time I felt good about the Titans, and another comment concerning the Netflix documentary about the Cowboys, and it ties in with what I'm going to say. I think the last time that I felt good about the Tennessee Titans, and you're speaking to a guy that saw them play at Vanderbilt football stadium when they first arrived, was probably that AFC Championship game with Mike Vrabel and going there, because the way I look at it, I want to see a team that has the potential and the competitive edge to make it to the Super Bowl like we did in 2000. The best years by far, 99 to 05. Those were some great. I mean, the town was buzzing. Everybody going to buy their jerseys. The stores running out. On the Netflix documentary, 10-part series about the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones' daughter, his office is right down from Jerry Jones' office. His two sons are right there, also down the hall. They've been with him for decades. Was Amy Adams shrunk? Was she with Bud before he passed away and working with him? And I'm not saying necessarily that that's what needs to take place, but I think, just to be honest with you, I think she's more interested in tea parties and her social page down in Houston. Sell the team for $5 billion, and fans I hope you're listening to me. This is the way it's going to be until you're ready to spend some major money. Winning is the cure-all for everything, and money makes that happen. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. But anyway, that documentary series is a 10-part on Netflix, maybe 8, I'm not sure, but it is excellent. It shows the family. Yes, Jerry Jones has run that team the last 30 years. Given that, I understand that completely, but his family's involved. My pinnacle, and I've called in before about this, 2013 is the pinnacle on how the Titans were to march forward.
Yep.
And of course, you know, that's when Bud Adams passed away. That was he ate, lived, and breathed the Tennessee Titans. That was his hobby. That was his life. That's what it's going to take. Have you heard any press clippings from Amy Adams Strunk in the last 24 hours?
We haven't heard from Amy in a long time.
Nada. I don't remember the last time I've heard from Amy Adams Strunk.
Okay. All right. Anyway, enjoy your show. Keep up the good work.
Thanks for the call, Edward. It's a good point. Obviously, everything leads back to Amy, and you really hope that Amy can find the right people in here. And we had the question last week of like, when does Brinker get blamed for all this? Like, Brinker was the one who decided to hire and retain Brian Callahan. Shouldn't he get a good amount of the blame for what's going on right now? But I don't really know if he's ever going to be the one who gets the brunt of the blame. It seems like he's got Amy Adams Strunk's ear.
In my perfect world, I'm getting rid of Callahan. I'm getting rid of Brinker because I'm around the Titans facility, and be honest, I don't get great feelings around that guy. So I'm keeping Borgonzi because at least the early returns are he's hit on most of the draft picks, and there's hope for guys like Jackson Slater. They get rid of Jarvis Brownlee, so we're going to see pretty quickly what Marcus Harris is all about. But Brinker is just using Callahan as a human meat shield right now.
Yeah, it's hard to make all bad decisions as an NFL owner, and obviously there's been a lot of them, but it does feel like Mike Borgonzi is one of the good hires right now. And maybe that's just because he's new and he hasn't had a chance to prove that he's not good yet, but I think Borgonzi feels like the guy you want to be steering the ship moving forward. Can you find a good head coach to work with him in tandem? Because I feel like that's what this team needs. You need two guys who are on the same page. You haven't had that right now since Robinson and Vrabel. So you got to find that.
But at least Borgonzi has been around winning. Like he's seen Super Bowls in Kansas City.
Right.
And so he knows what it looks like. And by the way that he conducts his business, like there's no tomfoolery, but with the rest of the people in the Titans organizations, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a mess. We had the conversation yesterday about Friday about why the Titans can't just be simple. Why can't you just do it like every other NFL team? Right now, it just seems overcomplicated. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Seeing a lot of people mentioning, because I think at this point, with Callahan scheduled to speak in about 3 hours, the expectation is that he is not going to be fired this week, right? Like, it would feel pretty messed up to send him out there in front of the media and then fire him tonight. And I understand Tuesdays is usually the day for Amy Adams Strunk. Everybody gets fired on Tuesdays. If he's speaking to the media, I find it hard to believe that he's going to be fired tomorrow. It's not impossible, but I feel like that just crosses a line to just send a guy up there to talk about the upcoming week and then fire him the next day. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. 3337 asks, can you fire a head coach and have a coaching search in the middle of the season to hire a new coach instead of just an interim? I had thought about this because the one guy that we are all pointing at as the number one obvious target for the Titans as a head coach is Mike McCarthy, who is not currently coaching a team. I don't think they would do it. That it feels like that would just be a little bit too quick, a little bit too hasty to try and say like, oh, instead of an interim, we're just going to throw our new head coach right in the middle of this absolute mess we have going on right now. Fix it. Like, I think they'll wait until the offseason, but I think legally, yes. I think if they wanted to, if they fired Callahan today or tomorrow, I think that they could go hire Mike McCarthy on Wednesday if they wanted to. I just don't think that's going to happen.
You technically can. I mean, it'd just be a lot of work.
Right. And it's like you're bringing a guy who's been outside of this room and basically telling him to lead all of these guys he's never met before. Like, I don't see that really working out.
Right.
I guess Tony Pollard would be able to vouch for him.
And that's what Arkansas is doing. Like, they just fired Sam Pittman, and they're getting ready to start a nationwide coaching search. They started it immediately. So they're looking for their next guy while Bobby Petrino is leading the team. But you can technically do it. I just don't see it happening.
Right. And you look at these college coaches, like Virginia Tech's in the middle of a coaching search, UCLA, Arkansas now. Who else just got fired? Gundy, Oklahoma State.
Yep.
So they're going to have all of these coaching searches, and you would guess that maybe they make a hire early. Like, I remember when Frank Beamer retired, Justin Fuente was announced before the bowl game. And so he was part of the bowl game planning and like was up in the booth. So like all of that to say, like, yes, I think that they would start to kick the tires on some candidates once they fire Brian Callahan, but I don't think they're going to hire somebody mid-season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts on the Titans, college football, the NFL, we'll take all of it. 615-737-1025, our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Plenty more Titans talk on the show today, but we need a little bit of a break. We're going to talk some college football because there was some good college football this weekend, and there was some college football that makes you think there could be some real local intrigue down the stretch between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, second hour on this Monday morning. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans fall yesterday 26-0 in Houston, and we will get back into the Titans, but can't spend 3 hours talking about when they're going to fire the coach every day.
No, they don't deserve it.
Especially when there was such great college football this weekend. And I feel like that deserves some of our time today. The late games lived up to the hype. Parker, have you ever seen an early part of the season live up to the excitement as much as this one has, where like we've had a couple of weekends where we go into it and saying, man, like there could be some really good games this weekend. It feels like every single game that we've wanted to be good this year actually has been. And that's been it's been great for college football fans.
No, it's great because I did this exercise over the weekend where I was going through my rankings, the AP poll, all of that, and I was thinking to myself, okay, through 5 weeks of the season, who are legit national championship contenders, who are legit playoff contenders? And I can honestly name about 12 to 15. And that gap just shows the parity in college football, where in previous years we were talking about the same teams: Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. LSU was the exception in 2019. Now you can name 12, 15 teams that have a legit chance of getting into that college football playoff.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt is one of them. 5-0 after beating Utah State over the weekend, 55-35. It was a funny game to watch down the stretch. It kind of felt like Utah State wanted to cover really bad, and they ended up doing it. Utah State ran a fake reverse wide receiver pass down by 27 points with 3 minutes left in the game and scored a late touchdown. But Vanderbilt improves to 5-0. And guess what? Heading to Tuscaloosa, rematch of last year's upset heard around the world, and College Game Day going to be there. I believe I saw this is just the second time ever that Vanderbilt will be participating in a game with Game Day present. Obviously, the other one was 2008 against Auburn. So we'll see. Going to be national eyes. That game is a 2:30 kick on ABC, but Vandy has a chance to get to 6-0 with a bye week coming up after it. They could be, again, easier said than done beating Alabama, because Bama looked good on Saturday night. And that was a statement win for Kalen DeBoer and his Crimson Tide going into Athens, where Georgia hadn't lost in 33 straight games, and beating the Dogs. But the way Vandy's played, they're going to compete with anybody. If Vandy wins that game, there is a pretty good chance they are in a playoff position with LSU coming to town in 2 weeks. Crazy to say. And again, if you had told anybody 2 years ago that College Game Day was going to be going to Alabama for the Vanderbilt game, I think they would have called you crazy. But here we are. What a turnaround from Clark Lee, Jerry Kill, Diego Pavia, everybody over there.
This game is about to be incredibly toxic. One, you have this scrappy team from Nashville, Tennessee that Diego Pavia has put on his back. They've got a really good roster. You have Alabama, who's coming off the Georgia win. Everybody was trashing them after the Florida State game. And now Alabama, they're right back in the mix.
Right.
And game day is going to be there. It's going to be an incredible environment. I looked at the early spread last night. Alabama is a 10.5-point favorite as of right now.
That seems high. It seems high. Like, I think it's a touchdown. Like, that's probably where I would go, but especially in Alabama. But I mean, I can see it. It does feel like for most people, it's Vandy has to prove it to us before we're going to believe in them. And after the South Carolina win, people got down on South Carolina. We'll see if the same thing happens if Vanderbilt beats Alabama this weekend. But man, this is going to be a fun game. Vanderbilt with everything to play for down there, trying to beat Alabama for the second time in a row after not beating them in a long time. 2438 asks, who is Vandy played to be considered a playoff team? That's a bit of a reach. If they can beat Bama, they will be playoff worthy, but Ty Simpson is playing lights out. Bama has the best wide receiver room in the country. Vanderbilt went on the road and beat a top 10 South Carolina team. Like, just because South Carolina isn't quite as good as maybe you thought they were doesn't mean that wasn't impressive to go beat them 31-7 on the road. Like, Vandy is number 16 in the country, which means they are right outside the playoff bubble. So they are a playoff contender. If they beat Alabama, I think they would be considered a playoff team at that point in the season.
For those that are saying Vandy is not a playoff contender, have you watched them? Yeah, they can't help who's on their schedule right now. I mean, South Carolina, we know that, okay, they've had their share of struggles. Virginia Tech has fired their head coach, but they emptied out Lane Stadium in the third quarter. They absolutely took South Carolina to the woodshed. Before you make all these comments about little old Vanderbilt, why don't you watch them play?
Yeah, Vanderbilt is averaging 49 points per game right now. Like they aren't just beating teams, they're destroying teams. And I'm not saying they're going to go to the playoffs yet. Like again, nobody on this station has said Vandy is going to be a playoff team. But to act like they're not a contender is crazy, considering what they've done so far this year and what they have in front of them on their schedule. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kenny the mailman, our friend, is on the line. Kenny, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hello, good friends. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
Listen, I always work Saturdays, so I listen to 102.5, listen to the Commodore games while I work, and I just enjoyed it so much. When is Andrew Allegretta going to be on with you again?
He is always on Thursdays at 11.
Okay. Get you a piece of paper and a pencil out. You got it?
Let me get ready. Okay, I got you.
All right. You've got to ask him this, because did y'all ever do write-offs in school?
No.
Oh, that was
Okay,
early.
well,
maybe the early days, like early elementary.
He's going to have to do 100 write-offs, because right before halftime, Pavia had a long run to set up the field goal.
Right.
And he was so excited. He said, "Oh, Pavia, he's like watching the Broadway play Hamilton. He is as near perfect as he can be." And he mentioned a couple of songs from Hamilton that I have absolutely no idea what it means. And it's like, I love Andrew, and I know he's trying to educate us and make us better, but SEC football and Broadway plays don't mix. I don't want any basketball players compared to Les Miserables, no baseball players compared to the Sound of Music. Just, it is what it is. Talk about being in the mud and blood.
So you're telling me that we shouldn't compare Alabama Vanderbilt to Aladdin?
Hey, you ask him Thursday, and he will probably start laughing, but he was so into it. Literally, y'all ought to find the little clip, and he said, "Watching Pavia is like watching the Broadway play Hamilton." And I went, yeah, okay.
I was up there. I actually did not hear that, but I'm glad you brought that up, Kenny. I'll have to ask him.
Oh, please dig it up. And what's funny, Norman Jordan, all he could say was, "I went to a play once."
We love Norm. Norm is the best. Thanks for the call, Kenny.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I guess is it going to be is it a whole new world for Vandy and Alabama this weekend? Is that where we're going?
Oh gosh. Should I bring out the Disney bump music?
Maybe not today. I don't know if anybody out there is in the mood for that today. Yeah, Andrew, he likes bringing up the references there. Well done from Andrew Allegretta. I'll have to ask him on Thursday about that. But Vanderbilt, they look good again on Saturday, and this is the moment where it's going to be: is Vanderbilt a playoff team, or are they just an improvement from last year? Right? Like, I think at this point, it's hard to say that this team's not better than last year. They lost to Georgia State last year. They dropped 70 on them this year. They needed overtime to beat Virginia Tech in Nashville last year. They beat them 44-20 this year in Lane Stadium. So South Carolina, another example. They lost 28-7 at home last year to South Carolina. They beat them 31-7 in Columbia this year. This is a better team than last year's was. Are they a playoff contender? Are they going to be a playoff team? They can answer that question this week if you go down to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama.
No, this is where rubber meets the road. But here's the thing about the expanded playoff, because even if Vanderbilt loses this game, which early, I think they will, you look at that back half. They have a bye week after the Bama, which comes at the perfect time. You have LSU and Missouri at home. Then you have Auburn, Kentucky at home as well. You're at Texas. You're at Tennessee. The way that some of those teams played right now, yeah, that's kind of a gauntlet. But it's not out of the realm of possibility for you to get some of those games at home and maybe even get one on the road.
Yeah, I think you look at this schedule for Vanderbilt, the next four are tough, and you have the bye week in there. But the next four, you go at Alabama, home against LSU, home against Missouri, at Texas. I believe that's that in the right order. If you want to be a playoff contender, you got to win 2 of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to win 2.
I don't
It's going to
think
be, I don't think a 9-win Vandy team gets in.
Right. I was getting ready to say, I don't think a 9-3 Vandy gets in, but a 10-2?
10-2, I think you're in.
Now we're talking.
You hear it in my open at top every hour. 10 wins is an SEC school you're in. I think you got to go 2-2 over these next 4. So let's say you go beat Alabama this weekend. If you just beat Missouri at home, and Missouri's look good, they haven't played a whole lot of teams. They played South Carolina too. If you can win those 2, you're then 7-2 with 3 games to go. Home against Kentucky, home against Auburn, at Tennessee. If that last game of the year, Tennessee Vanderbilt, not only for a playoff spot, but based on what we've seen from these 2 quarterbacks, could be for a seat at the table in New York too, for Joey Aguilar and Diego Pavia. Pavia threw 5 touchdown passes this weekend and over 300 yards against Utah State. Aguilar, again, was solid, had his moments against Mississippi State. Both those guys have a chance to be sitting in New York at the Heisman ceremony. I really think that this final game of the year, Tennessee Vanderbilt, could have everything on the line. Could be the biggest game that we've seen between those 2, maybe ever. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll keep talking college football on the other side. Talking Vanderbilt. Also have to get into Penn State and Oregon, because what a game that was out in Happy Valley. And Tennessee, just mentioned it. They escape in overtime against Mississippi State. We'll get to all of it coming up here on the program. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, alongside you on your Monday morning. Hope everybody's week is off to a great start. Titans obviously didn't help. 26-0 loss against Houston yesterday. Plenty more on the Titans coming up, but we're taking a little detour off to college football. It was a great week around college football this weekend. We're looking at Vandy, and I mentioned heading into the break about how that Vandy-Tennessee game could end up being not just for a playoff opportunity, which is the most important thing, but also could be huge in the Heisman race. And I've referenced the On3 Heisman poll a couple of times this year because the betting odds don't seem to like Diego Pavia very much. And he did move up this week. I think he's into the top 10 in betting favorites, along with Joey Aguilar. But the On3 Heisman poll brings together all of their analysts and reporters and pulls together what a Heisman vote would look like. And right now, they have Dante Moore at 1. I think that's fair. I think after what he did in Happy Valley this weekend and that win on the road against the top 5 Penn State team, I think he deserves to be number 1. John Mateer is number 2, but remember, he just had surgery on his hand, so he's out for a little bit here. Likely will be back, but when you miss time, you probably have to be super, super special to win the Heisman, right? Like, you can't play 9 games during the year and just be a good quarterback and win the Heisman. He's got to come back and be elite. And in third, Diego Pavia. That's where On3 has it. I think Pavia is probably, I think that's close for where Pavia should be. They don't have Aguilar on there at all. And that does concern me a little bit. Like, Joey Aguilar, when you look at the stats, like, he deserves to be up there. And he's competed with some of the best teams in the country. I mean, you look at Georgia. I mean, Mississippi State was undefeated coming in. Obviously, they weren't expected to be very good. But this past week, did have the 2 interceptions, but 335 yards, and probably should have had a second touchdown if it wasn't called back due to offensive pass interference, which
terrible,
questionable call.
Terrible.
At the very least, it was questionable. That was an interesting game. We'll get into that more later, but I really do think it is possible that one of, if not both of Pavia and Aguilar end up being Heisman finalists. They have to keep it going. And for Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, this is the stretch to prove yourself. I just went through those 4 games that you're going to play in a row here. And it's not going to be easy, especially this week. You're heading on the road to face a team that clearly has your name circled, right? Like, this is not, it's not a question of whether Alabama is going to be prepared to play and have a game plan for Vanderbilt. I think last year they overlooked Vanderbilt. Vandy punched him in the mouth, and Vandy won the game. You're not sneaking up on them, but this is a better Vanderbilt team than last year. They're going to have to go in and play great football if they are going to beat Alabama this weekend.
What happened last year was Alabama got very fat and happy because if you remember, they were also coming off of a Georgia win last year when they played Vanderbilt, and nobody expected Vanderbilt to turn into what Vanderbilt has turned into.
Right. This
year, Alabama is a little bit different. They're very hot and cold last year, and a lot of their hot and cold depended on how Jalen Milroe did. Ty Simpson has played very well the last 3 weeks. He's a field general. If he continues to play at the level he's playing at, Alabama's going to give Vanderbilt a lot of problems. But Vanderbilt is not sneaking up on you. Does this Alabama team have the emotional maturity to not get fat and happy this time around and come prepared for a very good Vanderbilt team? College game day is going to be there. There's going to be a lot going on. Do you have the mental fortitude to keep focused?
And that's the question for both these teams. Vandy, so far, the moment has never been too big for them over the last 2 years, but this is a different level. Again, game day there. The national eyes are on your team, even though it's not in Nashville. The national eyes are on Vanderbilt. It's 2:30 kick on News 2, ABC. We'll have Corey Curtis on with us on Wednesday. And this is the start of the gauntlet stretch for this team. You play the number 10 team in the country on the road this week. Then you get a bye. Then you play the number 13 team on the in the country in your stadium. Then you play the number 19 team in the country here in Nashville, and then you play the number 9 team in the country on the road. So you've got 4 straight top 20 matchups. you are a top 20 team. You've got to prove that you can not just play with these teams, but you can beat some of these teams. And if they do, again, that I cannot wait to set up the Vanderbilt Tennessee game right after Thanksgiving, because I don't know if there's been a game in that rivalry with as much on the line as what we could have this year. And maybe I'm forgetting something historically, but if there's a playoff spot on the line, which is looking possible, Alabama could play spoiler there if they end up beating both Vanderbilt and Tennessee. But this is setting up to be a heck of a finish for both these teams. And Vandy, biggest game of the season coming up this Saturday, taking on Alabama. You win, you immediately vault yourself right into playoff contender status. Like you are in the field, likely heading into that game against LSU. You got to keep taking care of business, and this is going to be a tough one coming up this weekend. Speaking of Corey Curtis, he just texted me, says, if you had Pavia or John Mateer, who are you starting? No one is playing better than Pavia right now. And I agree. Like Diego Pavia, I think there are a lot of coaches out there who you may not think would trade their quarterback for Diego Pavia, but I think they would. Like,
well, he got interest from other schools,
right,
before the season started.
I mean, he said that he was offered $4 million to go into the portal. Again, there's no proof of that, but that is what he put out there. I'm sure that's not coming from Colorado State. Like, it's coming from some of the big boys, because people know that Diego Pavia is a winner, and he has proven that so far. 615-737-1025. For Alabama, I was impressed by them on Saturday, and this is going to be a tough game for Vanderbilt coming up in Tuscaloosa. You look at Alabama, no one really giving them all that much of a chance against Georgia. I mean, both of us said that Georgia was going to win that game. I thought it was going to be by 10 points. And Alabama's defense was good. They made plays offensively. They got off to a hot start. They got a little lucky on the Georgia defensive back, who just decided to swan dive on top of the pile late and cost Georgia maybe a chance to come back in that game. But overall, it was a good game from Alabama. They look like a team that you would expect to be in the playoff conversation. And I can't wait for Saturday. I am ready to tune in for all of game day on Saturday. And I do hope that they give Vanderbilt the flowers they deserve for the way they've started this season and the way they've battled back from a 2-10 year 2 years ago. But I really think that this is going to be a really special Saturday for Vanderbilt football, and hopefully they can compete on the field when it comes to playing Alabama. Matthew in Nashville with a good question. Would love to hear your thoughts on that no targeting call late in the Penn State-Oregon game. I wrote this down on Saturday because I didn't want to forget. They call targeting a player safety issue, but it feels like it's officiated differently based on the game situation. Like, that was pretty clear targeting in the Penn State-Oregon game. At least I thought. But
clear.
I thought it was clear.
Go look at the replay, too. It's even worse.
And in the Vanderbilt game against Utah State, there was another one that I thought was clear targeting. Both of these were late in games, and I feel like the later in the game you get, the less likely they are to call you for targeting. And maybe I understand the rule wrong, because it feels like it changes every single week. But the way I look at it is, I think officials are more likely to call targeting early in games because they're less likely to get told that it cost a team the game. And also the player doesn't get suspended for the first half of the next game. And I know they get called in the second half plenty of times, but late in the game, Vanderbilt, Utah State, it felt like it was clear targeting, but the game was kind of out of hand. And it felt like it was let's not make him be suspended for the first half of next week. And they didn't call it. And then Oregon, Penn State, that looked like textbook targeting to me. And they didn't call
it. The way his head snapped backwards told you exactly what it was. But the way targeting, the rule is very clear. I know what the targeting rule says, that you have to lead with the crown of your helmet. And I believe they got into the minutia on the Georgia-Alabama where they were talking about the hairline. And so it gets so confused because there are so many calls that are incidental targeting. I believe, first of all, that we should have like we have flagrant 1, flagrant 2 in college basketball.
Yeah.
You should have different flagrant 1, flagrant 2
true.
for targeting because incidental happens all the time. Does that warrant him getting kicked out for the rest of the game and maybe even a half of the next? But if it's intentional, then absolutely kick him out of the game.
I agree. I think flagrant 1, flagrant 2 is the right way to put it. Have one just be a 15-yard penalty. Like if you think it was borderline, but it's helmet to helmet contact, it's forcible contact to the head or neck area, it's launching. Like maybe it doesn't cover all aspects of the rule, but it covers most of it. 15-yard penalty, player stays in the game. And then you can have the flagrant 2 of, your clear targeting, guy just launches with his head right at the quarterback's head or whatever. Like, I agree. I think flagrant 1, flagrant 2 is the way to put it. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Charlie is on the line wanting to talk Diego Pavia. Charlie, good morning. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I actually seen that interview with Pavia. He was on Busting with the Boys, and he said that was another SEC school that offered him the $4 million.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect that anybody offering $4 million is going to come from either the SEC or the Big Ten or something like that. And those SEC coaches, I'm sure they watched Diego Pavia play last year and said, you know what? We could use that over here.
I always thought it was Alabama.
It very well could have been. It very well could have been.
Could have been Miami, too, because they were looking for a quarterback before they landed on Carson Beck.
And they offered Carson Beck $4 million.
Yeah. He did, but like I say, he specifically said it was SEC school. But anyways, they as far as that targeting, they should just show old Chuck Cecil videos and say, if you do this, you're out. Otherwise, he was the worst, man.
That's a good point. Thanks for the call, Charlie. Targeting, it's always going to be a problem. And I understand it's a player safety. That's what they always say. It's player safety, but it's got to be adjudicated the same way, no matter what. And it feels like it's way too inconsistent right now. We need some more consistency. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A couple more college football thoughts before we get back into the Titans. I do have to go through that Oregon-Penn State game because my Monday headline on Friday was, I think Oregon's going to boat race Penn State. Like, win by 2 touchdowns, and it's never really close. And I was ready to do my victory lap. I was. And then Penn State made it a game. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, alongside you on this Monday morning. About to get back into the Titans after a 26-0 loss to Houston yesterday afternoon. But I did want to highlight the game of the week in college football. In Penn State, big game, James Franklin, trying to win just his 5th top 10 game since joining Penn State. He is now 4-21. But I do have to give his team credit. When Oregon went up 17-3, I was all ready to take my victory lap because I picked Oregon to win by 2 touchdowns. And I thought it would be higher scoring than that. It was a defensive struggle for a while in that game. But I was ready to come and take my victory lap on Oregon going in there and taking care of business pretty handily. But Penn State battled back, tied the game with 30 seconds left, go to overtime, and they ended up scoring first. Just needed a stop to try and send to win the game. They couldn't stop Oregon. Then in second overtime, Oregon scores on the first play, and 1 play later, Drew Aller throws a pick. Game over. I will give Penn State credit. They stayed in that game when it looked like it was all about to fall apart, but big game James Franklin still can't get it done. And again, we went through his top 10 victories, and one is Ohio State at home. That was with Saquon Barkley. The other 3 are Wisconsin, Utah, and Boise State, which, top 10 wins are top 10 wins, but they're not all created equal. And it's not like he's beating Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. He beat Wisconsin, Utah, and Boise State.
Yeah, this game, I was watching, after I watched the first half, I was texting with one of my buddies who's a Penn State fan, and I was confused as to, okay, is Penn State's offense just that bad in the first half, or is it just how good Oregon's defense is? And in the preseason, I knew Penn State was a good team. They're consistently a top 10 to top 15 team every year. They went out. The difference with them was supposed to be this year was they returned everybody from last year, and then they went and supplemented and got some players, some game-changing players from the transfer portal, but yet they didn't utilize them in the first half. Heck, they didn't even utilize them in the third quarter. The offense finally decided to wake up in the fourth quarter, ended up tying it and sending it to overtime, but yet even that wasn't enough. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I mean, they got the one big play to make it 17-10, right? Like it was 17-3, it looked over, and then they answered right back with a touchdown, and they got it to overtime, just not quite enough. Speaking of overtime, I wasn't planning on bringing this up today, but Florida State UVA on Friday night, oh my goodness, what a game. And the field storming on Friday night, Squirrel White, I really hope you're okay. Watching that, it looked like Mufasa in The Lion King. Like he was stampeded by 1,000 people immediately. And I hope he's okay. I don't like UVA. That's apparent. I was rooting against them the whole time. And they're getting a lot of attention for the field storm. And it was cool because there is no fence that keeps the student section off the field. Like they just kind of trust them. That stadium was not full, by the way. Just want to put that out there for a top 10 game on a Friday night against Florida State. It was not full, but well done by UVA. They got the win, and technically they are ACC title contenders. They could have gotten help from Georgia Tech too if they had lost to Wake Forest, but that didn't work out as well. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Clay is on the line wanting to chime in. Clay, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
This is becoming a habit, Jake. I like your show.
You're becoming a regular. We appreciate it, Clay.
Parker, it was nice to meet you the other day at Sports and Social.
Nice meeting you, sir.
I saw a great avenue to give my take as a Vanderbilt fan with James Franklin having coached here. Did I like going 9-4 2 years in a row? Yes, I did. Absolutely. And I'm taking nothing away from what he did as far as the record, but it was a league that was, a little bit down at that time, certainly not as strong as it is now. My problem with James Franklin is, guys, I don't like James Franklin, the man. And
I think I just think he could sell ice to an Eskimo, I think. But and if you're honest about it, by Penn State standards, and y'all are mentioning his record in big games. I mean, so on the national scene, as far as making the playoffs, as far as winning a national championship, he's not getting it done. He can't win the big games, and that's why I guess he has the name Big Game James.
Yeah, it's a good point, Clay. And at Penn State, you kind of think that the expectations aren't quite as high as in Ohio State or in Alabama or a Georgia. Like the expectation isn't a national championship every year, but at some point, a national championship would be nice. I think is what Penn State fans. Yeah, again, it's not like Alabama where Kalen DeBoer might get fired if he goes 9-3 back-to-back years, but I don't know if there has to be an expiration date at some point with James Franklin of if he's just going to continue to be the 8th best team in the country. Eventually, they need him to break through, right? Like that's kind of it's getting towards the end of that lifeline of like you can only be the 4th best team in the Big Ten for so long before we have to try and make a change.
And I'm baffled because they returned their stable of running backs, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, 2 of the headliners of this team, and combined they had 75 yards rushing on 23 carries, 3.2 yards per carry. That just can't happen. I mean, when you get in these big games, the thing about Penn State is they win the games they're supposed to win, but they were favored to win this game and they didn't win it. And you have them coming into your building. It's a whiteout. You got to do better. You just have to do better.
Right. It was an opportunity for James Franklin to kind of squash the narrative, and he just couldn't do it. And I'm not saying Penn State's going to fire him now. Like I think there comes a point of like, all right, are you ever going to get any better? And you run the risk of finding somebody worse, which James Franklin, he's at least consistent, but man, just can't seem to win the big game. And they fall again to Oregon on Saturday night. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will get into Tennessee's overtime win over Mississippi State later on in the show. We'll get to that at the end of the program, but did want to get back into the Titans. Let's talk Titans defense. We already touched on L'Jarius Sneed and how bad he was yesterday. It was horrible. But there was at least a little bit of a bright spot on the defensive side. We'll look at that unit coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5. The Game finishing up second hour of the show on this Monday. Just went through some of the big college football headlines of the weekend. We will talk some more college football towards the end of the show, but we got to get back into the Titans. 26-0 loss to the Houston Texans yesterday in Houston, first of a 3-game road trip. And I did want to mention, this was sent out right around the beginning of our show from Paul Kaharski. A lot of talk about whether Brian Callahan could be fired this week. Paul Kaharski tweeted at 9:03 a.m., "I'm not expecting anything to happen. #Titans." So I don't think Brian Callahan is going to be let go this week. I know that's disappointing for a lot of people out there, but at this point, I think it's a question of when, not if. So you just got to wait it out until they feel like it's the right time. I don't know if there is a right time. I would personally, I think, just rip off the Band-Aid, but it feels like the end is near, whether that's after the Patriots game, whether that's the bye week, or if it's the end of the season. Likely, very likely, going to have a new head coach come 2026. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball here quickly. We touched on L'Jarius Sneed, and we can go back through it quickly of what a horrible game for L'Jarius Sneed yesterday. Just looked like he didn't know what he was doing, which for a guy who's been in the league for that many years and really is highly touted and has been highly touted as a really talented cornerback, it was a really bad day for him yesterday. We talked about Ross Tucker. Ross Tucker was letting L'Jarius Sneed have it yesterday. It wasn't just the one that I mentioned, and maybe I'll pull some of these clips for tomorrow's show of the Ross Tucker. L'Jarius Sneed's playing zone here. It looks like everybody else is playing man. And then the Nico Collins 2nd and 33 catch. Like, how do you let him buy you? The one thing you can't do in 2nd and 33 is just get beat over the top. And CJ Stroud, that's the easiest throw he made all day, was just lob it up there. Nico Collins catches it, first down, ended up being the first touchdown of the day for the Texans. It was 6-0 at that point, and you were about to get the ball back if you could have just not given up a 2nd and 33. So L'Jarius Sneed was horrible. And, he had his who comment on Nico Collins. Brian Callahan, I thought Brian Callahan kind of threw him under the bus a little bit yesterday. Do we have the clip of Callahan talking about Sneed?
Yeah, dude, give me 1 second.
Okay. Because I thought Callahan's not going to publicly call people out in the media, but this is what Brian Callahan had to say about L'Jarius Sneed, the comments he made earlier in the week, and the way he performed yesterday.
Coming into this game, Jeffrey Simmons, he said the best players have to play better. You got a guy like Sneed who calls out, he gets himself going with the who when it's about Nico Collins, and you have that. What can you do to get that back on track?
Yeah, I mean, those are when you talk, you got to back it up. Didn't do that today. That's decision the guy makes, and then he's got to live with that too. That's on them. If they want to talk, then you got to back it up, and didn't do a good enough job of that today. That happens, but I don't know that's a personal thing for some guys. So
yeah, so when you talk, you got to back it up. Clearly, L'Jarius Sneed did not do that in yesterday's game against Nico Collins.
And Callahan isn't lying either. You got to, if you're going to talk, you can't go out there and look like, Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, pick your poison, Parrish Cox. It was bad yesterday from L'Jarius Sneed, and really the whole defense wasn't good enough yesterday. There wasn't enough pressure on CJ Stroud. There was more pressure. Talking about the Sneed issues, I didn't even mention that the Titans sacked CJ Stroud, and L'Jarius Sneed got called for a pointless holding penalty down the field for absolutely no reason. Horrible day for L'Jarius Sneed. But the whole defense wasn't good enough yesterday. And they did bend. They didn't break early on before the floodgates opened up and they gave up 20 late in that game. But I do want to point out that Jeffrey Simmons was sensational again yesterday. That sack that he had on CJ Stroud was about as impressive of a play as you can have from a defensive lineman. Just threw the guard aside like he wasn't even there and basically took the snap for CJ Stroud and threw him on the ground. So impressive. I thought he was good yesterday. I actually thought Femi Oladejo showed some flashes yesterday. The sack from Arden Key and Draymond Jones, Femi caused that because he beat the right tackle so bad that Stroud had to step up in the pocket and step right into the pressure. So shout out Femi. But Jeffrey Simmons was great yesterday. And it's getting to the point where I think the likelihood that he gets traded is going up and up every single week. And yesterday was another way for him to raise his stock. That's a highlight that every GM, and I'm sure GMs watch most games, or they have their scouting department that watches most games, but it's a lot easier to sell a big move like that to your fan base if you can have, hey, look at what this guy did 3 weeks ago against the Texans. He just threw aside the guard and got CJ Stroud before he could even get to his drop. Like that, it shows up on social media. It goes viral. People were talking about it yesterday. I think the likelihood that Jeffrey Simmons gets traded is getting higher and higher as the losses get higher and higher.
This is according to Next Gen Stats. So Jeffrey Simmons sacked CJ Stroud in 2.09 seconds, the fastest sack lead wide over the last 2 seasons. He crossed the line of scrimmage in 0.32 seconds after the snap, the fastest get off time by a defensive tackle this season.
Yeah, the offensive line basically wasn't even there. It basically wasn't even there. Simmons was awesome yesterday. Mike says Jeffrey Simmons was not good yesterday. One play does not make you good. Watch the game, Mike. Like he was the only thing that was making things difficult for CJ Stroud and the Texans yesterday. Jeffrey Simmons was good. He has been good all year long. And yes, the one play stood out, but he was making plays throughout the day. He was putting pressure on CJ Stroud. He had a couple of tackles for loss on the running backs. He was good. Jeffrey Simmons continues to raise his draft stock or his trade stock. 4279 says, what do we get for Simmons? A second round, a second, and a fourth. We had this conversation with Corey Curtis last week. Corey seems to think that there's no chance that Simmons gets a 1. And that's kind of the sentiment I'm getting from everyone. So maybe I'm wrong. I think you ask for a 1 and hope there's someone desperate enough to give it to you. I don't know if you get a 1, but I think that's where you start. That is the asking price for Jeffrey Simmons, is you ask for a first round pick. And maybe there is somebody out there who is going to give you 1. I think likely, and 4279 says second or a second and a fourth. I think a second and maybe a fifth is probably what it ends up being, is you get a second and you convince them to throw in a late round pick for you. But you hope for a 1. Jerry Jones, if you'd like another game wrecker on your defensive line, a first round pick is what it costs. But yeah, I think if a deal does get done, I think it's a second and something else minor as a throw in to get you closer to where you think his value is. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Finn wants to chime in on Jeffrey Simmons. Finn, thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
Stan.
Finn, you there?
Stan, right?
Oh, Stan. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Stan, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Just a little reality to the Jeffrey Simmons thing. Having played defensive line in NFL very briefly myself, those type of plays happen when you guess the snap count. You know, there's no way that the ball moved a millimeter and he just looked at the ball and got out of his stance. You know, that it's a great play. I'm not taking anything away from it, but you know, it could have been offsides if he had guessed wrong. He guessed right. He got through the gap, and that's what happens when you do that. He should be able to do that every time if it wasn't that. So don't get me wrong, good explosiveness, great play, but it's not like, the ball moved a millimeter and he just had a quick reflex on that particular play. So I didn't want to poo-poo the parade, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
No, that's a fair point, Stan. And I appreciate the perspective of a former defensive lineman for adding what probably happened. I agree with you that, he probably guessed the snap count. But I'm not talking about just that play. Like, the metrics and the analytics all say that Jeffrey Simmons is having one of his best seasons as a pro. Like, I think he is going. I won't say I think he's going to get traded. I think it's getting more likely that he's going to be traded. And the way he's been playing, I think he is going to continue to raise that trade stock. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Kevin also saying that, like, watch the film, great play. He's not playing good. It seems like everybody I've seen is saying that Jeffrey Simmons is having a career year. All the charts that come out say that he's winning at a higher rate than he used to. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not a defensive line expert. And again, I appreciate Stan calling in and giving us some insight there. So I'm not saying that I'm watching him and can tell you exactly what he's doing to win. I'm just saying I think he's winning a lot. And he's the only guy who seems to be doing anything positive for this defense. So I take it up with the analytics and the stats that are coming out that are showing that Jeffrey Simmons is playing well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Talking Titans here on this Monday, a 26-0 loss to the Houston Texans yesterday. Callahan is scheduled to speak to the media coming up at 1:30. And again, Paul Kaharski of paulkaharski.com reporting nothing expected for the Titans this week. So expecting Brian Callahan to be on the sidelines in Arizona on Sunday. What could we hear from Brian Callahan today after what happened yesterday in Houston? He's now 3-18. The same things are being said. What can Brian Callahan do at this point? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final hour on this Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Back into the Titans here. 26-0 loss against Houston. The Titans are 0-4, 3-18 under Brian Callahan, and 9-36 in their last 45 games. We asked you the question earlier of when is the last time you felt joy watching the Titans? Lots of good answers there. For me, I said it was the Will Levis debut, the 4th touchdown. I felt like the Titans finally had a quarterback. Obviously, that didn't work out. Before that, it was probably the Packers win on Thursday Night Football. And, before that, the Titans were actually a good team. So there were plenty of times where you felt joy watching the Titans play football. Brian Callahan is expected to speak coming up in about 2.5 hours at St. Thomas Sports Park for his usual Monday press conference, which likely means that he is not being fired this week. And Paul Kaharski of paulkaharski.com did tweet out nothing expected from the Titans. It's not impossible. We've seen it before with Amy Adams-Strunk. I mean, who would have thought Mike Mularkey was going to get fired after winning a playoff game? So crazier things have happened, but the expectation is that Brian Callahan, at the very least, is going to be on the sidelines in Arizona. And my question is just why? It feels like there's absolutely no faith in him turning this around at this point. Yesterday felt like rock bottom. I compare yesterday to the Marcus Mariota final game at Denver back in 2019 of before that, you could kind of see it and it felt like it was ending. Like that Ravens 9-sack game the week before. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe this is about over for Marcus Mariota. But the Broncos game was when it became clear to everybody, yeah, they need to make a change. I think yesterday was that. There were a lot of red flags. There were a lot of signs that showed you, yeah, maybe Brian Callahan needs to go. Yesterday, I think was, yeah, he's got to go. It was horrible. 26-0. The offense never got into the red zone. Should they have gotten shut out? No. Joey Sly missed 2 very makeable field goals. It's not on Brian Callahan. But to get shut out at your division rival in your former city where your owner doesn't like to lose, it feels like it's the end, but for some reason they're just going to keep stretching this out.
First time since 2010 the Houston Texans have shut out a team, and ironically, it was the Tennessee Titans. So this is rock bottom. There's no other way around it. This team is somehow less watchable than they were last year, at least through 4 games. I don't know what to say. I'm out of words. I don't know how we could talk about this team for 3 hours.
It's gotten to the point of we come on here every single day and have the same conversation of when are they going to fire the coach? This is the day where it felt like it was going to happen. I said to my fiance yesterday, as I was getting ready for bed, I was like, I just planned a whole show that I'm probably going to have to throw out because I think he's going to get fired in the morning. That was my gut feeling going to bed. And I understand that typically Titans firings happen on Tuesdays, but in the middle of the season when you've got to get ready for a game on Sunday, those Tuesday firings were off-season firings, or you were firing the GM. John Robinson, you can fire him whatever day you want. He's not game planning up until Sunday's game. But if you're going to fire the head coach, fire him on Monday. And the fact that he's not gone and he's expected to speak, I expect him to stick around. But the gut feeling I had last night was that he was going to be gone. As of now, he's still the head coach. And I don't know how many more weeks we can keep doing this when the team just looks horrible. And we keep having to have the same conversations over and over and over because there's just no redeeming qualities. Yesterday, after the Broncos game, we spent the first 2 hours on the bad and we spent the last hour on good because there was some good to take from that Broncos game. Can you name, outside of Jeffrey Simmons, who I guess, according to some callers and texters, didn't play very well, although he had a sack, 4 pressures, 3 of them were quick, and 3 run stuffs yesterday. But outside of that, there is nothing I can point to yesterday and say, man, that makes me feel good about the future of this team.
Yep, that's about it. Jeff Simmons played good yesterday, and that is that. L'Jarius Sneed looked awful. Cam Ward did not look great. Play call. I mean, Titans didn't even get in the red zone, so play calling, the change at coordinator didn't make much of a difference.
Right. It's like Bo Hardegree. I'm not going to blame Bo Hardegree for yesterday. I thought the trick play calls were horrible. And there was a 3rd and 5 where he just ran it into the line again, which has been an issue. Again, as one of the callers earlier, we had a few of them, as one of them said, he's calling off of Brian Callahan's play sheet. It's the same offense. It's just who's calling the plays. And it wasn't good yesterday, and honestly, the worst part of yesterday's game was Cam Ward. And I hate to say that because I think he is the best hope for this team. But if I had to look for a reason the offense was bad yesterday, I think Cam Ward was most of it. He was inaccurate. He was holding the ball. He made some bad decisions. He was not good yesterday. Does that mean he's not going to be good forever? No, it was a bad game. And rookie quarterbacks have bad games. But yeah, yesterday there was almost nothing that made me feel good watching that game. Josh says kind of the same thing. Josh on our text line says the game yesterday was the worst game I've ever seen the Titans play. Worse than the 59-0 Patriots game simply because Houston is not a good team. At least New England was good. I don't know if that's the worst performance I've ever seen from the Titans because it's not like they turned the ball over a bunch. They only gave up 6 points through the first 3 quarters. It wasn't the worst performance I've ever seen from the Titans, and there have been so many bad ones. But in terms of wanting to watch the game, that was one I wish I had just turned off. I wish I had been like Dustin from Hopkinsville and just turned off the game at halftime and gone and done something else. But I didn't, and it was horrible. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be better. Dustin from Hopkinsville, good point on the text line. He had his worst game, a rookie, a bad game in game 4. Cool. Yeah. That's what I'm saying too, is yeah, he was bad. That was his worst game, but he's a rookie. Let's not act like that's what he's going to be forever. Just like Will Levis, when he threw 4 touchdowns in his first game, that's not what he was forever. You got to give these guys time to develop. Right now, it seems like it's heading in the wrong direction. And
we can't be prisoners of the moment, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Right. The criticisms of Cam Ward is a one-game criticism that he was bad. With Brian Callahan, we're to the point where, we talked all last year about how young quarterbacks should get 20 starts in the league before you can make any determination about them. Can you say the same about head coaches? Because we just hit game 21 and he's 3-18. I am surprised this morning that he is still the head coach. I can actually say that. I am surprised that Brian Callahan did not get fired today. But, again, does it really matter when you do it? Probably not. The question is, what good comes from firing him this early? I ask what bad comes from firing him this early. It's going to happen at some point, but it's just tough because at the very least, if you make the move, you hope for that interim coach spark, right? That's always a thing of you hope for the interim coach where the team starts to figure it out a little bit. I'd like to watch some good football at some point. And so far, we haven't seen any this season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Chris is on the line wanting to chime in. Chris, good morning. What's up this morning?
I just got a question. Y'all were talking about how are we going to talk about the Titans for 3 hours? Don't talk about the Titans for 3 hours. Talk about the team right down the road that's 5-0. You got a quarterback that's a stud instead of talking about some team that's horrible and going to fire their coach.
We did, Chris. We spent 30 minutes on Vanderbilt. We're doing our best. Oh, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, that's all he had
to say. That's all he had to say. No, trust me, if you're looking for a program that is not spending time on Vanderbilt, this is not the one. I probably spend more time on Vanderbilt than anybody in town. So
it's about the game.
I would love to spend 3 hours on Vanderbilt, but obviously people want to spend time on the Titans too, despite how bad it's been. And we got to balance it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take a break. Continue to talk Titans after this. Joey Sly was bad yesterday. We got to talk about him, and we'll continue to look at Brian Callahan and when he may be let go as the head coach of the Titans. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you this morning here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly alongside you. We are talking Titans on this Monday after another tough loss yesterday, 26-0 at the hands of the Houston Texans. We just had a caller, Chris, call in and say we should spend more time on the local team, 5-0 Vanderbilt, right down the road. We've spent some time on Vandy this morning, but I will get to this. Dylan Tovitz of Vandy on SI tweeted this out about an hour ago, that Johnny Manziel has put out on a podcast that he's going to be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on Saturday on the Vandy sideline wearing a Pavia jersey. So a new celebrity fan for the Tennessee Titans, for the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up on Saturday. I don't think there are a lot of celebrities wanting to hitch their wagon to the Titans right now. But Johnny Manziel says he will be on the Vanderbilt sideline, likely alongside Theo Vaughn for that game at Alabama coming up on Saturday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Andre is on the line. Andre, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, looking at all the analysts in the off season and the draft season, everybody had us at, or the Titans rather, at maybe 3 wins this season. And that's what I can expect. Now, looking forward, if we get the first round draft pick, I just want to know, if we trade that pick back, what expert veterans can we expect to get from those draft picks? Coming from the free agents this year.
Yeah.
Can we get some capital from that? Is there anything we can get? Anybody good?
Yeah,
I really want to know.
Thanks for the call, Chris, or Andre. We looked at the free agent class, and the Titans do have plenty of capital. Like they got 126,000 or 126 million. Maybe 50 years ago, 126,000 was a good amount of salary cap. 126 million dollars in cap space this year, so they're going to have options. The free agent class just doesn't look all that good. So I don't know if veteran additions are where you need to look. The Titans need to get a high pick, trade out of it, and get yourself future firsts, multiple seconds. You need as many top 100 picks as you can get. If you could trade out, and obviously this all depends on where you're picking and where whoever wants to come up is picking. But if you could get a future first and 2 more top 100 picks in this year's draft, you feel pretty good. If you could end up picking 5 times in the top 100 this year and then have 2 firsts the next year, that's how you accelerate a rebuild. So I think that's what you're looking for. Maybe there is a generational talent that you want to take if you're high enough. Ruben Bain is the guy who's been connected to the Titans. Like that is a pass rusher who could finally give you that elite guy on the edge. But I don't know if that guy is worth missing out on all those extra picks. The quarterback is, I don't know if a pass rusher would be.
And this, front office organization, they've made it very clear how many draft picks they want over the next 3 drafts. And I think that getting Cam Ward, it's like you said, getting Cam Ward is not worth all the other picks. Getting what you believe to be your franchise quarterback is not worth that. But this is not I don't know, just early looks at it. I think this organization would be willing to trade the pick back in order to acquire more picks. And maybe that comes with 2 first rounders. Who knows?
Well, you look back, I think the 2022 draft, which tough night for Titans fans. But if you look back at the 2022 draft, that's the example that you have to look at is, let's say you're the Jaguars in this situation. You just had the first overall pick. You got the first overall pick again. If there was a quarterback worth having in that draft, the Jaguars would have traded that pick in a heartbeat. But there wasn't. That was the Kenny Pickett draft. And so they took Trayvon Walker. Aiden Hutchinson was up there too. That's where the Titans are likely going to be if they're in the top 2 is, hey, if there's a quarterback that teams are willing to come up for, they're going to trade it. But I think you feel okay taking an elite level pass rusher if there is nobody to come up for, which, again, it's crazy. The conversations we had before the season about how many quarterbacks could end up going in the top 10 to all of them really not playing all that well. It does feel like there's going to be some who are going to go early. Like I think Sellers still goes early. I think Nussmeier probably still goes early.
Yeah. I'm gonna imagine Cade Klubnik would still go early. All those guys, because quarterbacks, teams tend to reach for their quarterbacks, but they polled some executives, some NFL draft scouts. They talked about this on Game Day a couple weekends ago, and the consensus was that Lenore Sellers was the most valued quarterback prospect, which shouldn't really be a surprise. But
yeah, with the traits with Sellers, I think that makes sense. Mitchell says, I hate this conversation in September. Me too. The good news is we're only 2 days from October, and we could hate having it in October too.
Yeah, you think we enjoy this, Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. 8979 says the Titans are making hockey fans out of the whole city. Preds opening night is October 9th. That's a good point. That's Craig. That's a really good point of like, if the Preds have an opening here to like get this city completely engaged on them, right? Like it's tough to compete with the NFL. The NFL is king. Everybody knows it. And when the Titans are good, I think a lot of this city doesn't turn its attention to hockey until after the new year. But Titans aren't good. And the Preds open up a week from Thursday. There's an opportunity for the Preds to take this city by storm if they're good, right? Like if they go out, if the Preds go out there and get off to a hot start, I think this city is going to rally around the Nashville Predators because there's just absolutely nothing to look forward to on the other side of the river.
Yeah, what do we know about the Nashville? The fan base is very loyal, especially when the team is good. But if the team's not good, I mean, this goes for any fan base in general. If your team's not good, it's hard to support. It's hard to keep coming back week after week, and especially if the Nashville Predators, if they improve on what they did last year, we're all hockey fans.
Well, they got to improve on what they did last year for sure. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, "Stop putting the pressure on our Preds. I expect more bad there too." You know, we don't know. I think hockey, I've said this before, hockey and baseball, I think are just hard sports to predict. Like if you can just find the right combination and get the right locker room and you get a few bounces to go your way, your team can be really good. And I'm in on the Preds being decent this year. I'm excited for next Thursday. I'm not saying Stanley Cup contenders, but like if they get off to a hot start, I do think this city is going to rally around it because this city is just starved for good sports. Like, and I know Vanderbilt's off to a great start, and I think the city has rallied around them well. We need more. First Bank needs to be full of Vandy fans for the rest of the season. But I think if the Preds give the fans a product worth paying attention to, I think the city is going to be all over it because there hasn't been enough good in the last 2 years.
That's why this Vandy team is so popular, and even nationally, like Vanderbilt is a story. So when you start to win, when you start to create a little bit of momentum, this fan base, especially in Nashville, will rally around you. And it's been hard to do that for the Titans, considering that they've given their fans almost zero hope for any type of future success.
Right. It's like if you're looking for a silver lining of the Titans being horrible, it's left a void and somebody else has to step up and take it because this is a sports city. It's a city that embraces their sports teams, loves their sports teams, and if you give them a product worth watching, they're going to embrace you. Preds have an opportunity. I'm not trying to put extra pressure on them, but I'm just saying like the Titans being bad has left the Preds as a real hope for this city. We'll see what they can get done. Again, opening night is just over a week away, coming up next Thursday. 3407 on our text line asks, what are the odds, and this is Candace in Hopkinsville, asks, what are the odds Callahan does his press conference today and is fired tomorrow? I would say low, not zero. Low, but not zero. It could happen, but it just feels mean to send Brian Callahan out there today and then fire him tomorrow. Like, I get it. Maybe these aren't decisions that you can make in 24 hours, but if you don't know, you know, right? It's kind of the way I look at it. Like if Amy Adams Strunk and Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi are even having the conversation about it at this point, just do it. Like, again, I never want to root for a guy to lose his job, but honestly, I think it's mean to Brian Callahan to keep putting him out there if you know you're going to let him go. Like the guy clearly is upset with everything that's going on. This is not how he envisioned his dream job was going to go. Again, like there's no way that Brian Callahan took this job thinking he'd be 3-18. And I feel for the guy. Like it hasn't gone well. It's not all his fault, but it feels mean to send him out there over and over if you're going to fire him. And that's what I'm saying. Like if you send him out there today and fire him tomorrow, I don't like that.
It's just like dangling a carrot in front of your face. That's basically what it is. And this has nothing to do with Brian Callahan, the person, because I think we would all agree that Brian Callahan as a person he seems like a very nice, genuine man, and you root for people like that. But at the same time, the NFL is a business. And if you're not producing, then, it's like Jake said, got to rip the Band-Aid off. You got to have some tough conversations.
Right. And we'll see. Right now, Brian Callahan scheduled to speak in a little over 2 hours over at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Quickly, because I do want to talk Tennessee, because Tennessee escaped Mississippi State with a big win on Saturday. Joey Sly for the Titans. Man, I was rooting for him. He's my Hokie. And, man, 4 straight misses. And the last 2 were just like, you can deal with the first two because one was from 64, one was from 62 and got blocked. So like whatever. But man, those misses yesterday were bad. Both wide right. I don't think he's gone. I don't like they're gonna give him another chance, but he's on thin ice now because you missed 4 straight kicks. It's you're not going to stick around as an NFL kicker very long. That is one of the hardest positions to stick around in because it's such a what have you done for me lately job that if you're not an established guy like a Justin Tucker or Harrison Butker or all those guys who have been in their spots for so long, one bad game is enough to put you on the hot seat. And I feel for Joey Sly. Hopefully he can bounce back, but yesterday was bad for the Titans kicker. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. DP in the YouTube chat says the city needs to rally around Vandy. I agree.
We're already rallied.
Rally around Vandy 100%. They are 5-0. They've got game day as they go on the road to face Alabama this weekend. Massive game down in Tuscaloosa. Rally around Vandy. But I am just pointing out, like the Preds, professional sports, it takes the cake. And I think this city will rally around the Preds big time if that team can get off to a good start. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's check in on Tennessee when we come back. The Vols get a win on the road. It wasn't pretty, but they got the win. A win is a win is a win. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman. Parker Kelly with you. Reaction Monday after the Titans fell 26-0 to the Houston Texans yesterday. Titans now 0-4. We're going to talk some Tennessee football after they improved to 4-1 on Saturday with an overtime win in Starkville over Mississippi State. Do want to mention here, though, 0247 asks, wasn't Vrabel done that way? Presser on Monday, fired on Tuesday. He was not. They postponed that presser and then fired him on Tuesday, if I remember correctly. There was a presser scheduled. They moved it back to Tuesday, and then it never happened because he was let go. So we'll see. Right now, Brian Callahan's scheduled to speak this afternoon, and you can keep listening right here. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. Do want to mention the Vols. That was an impressive win for them on Saturday because, Parker, we had the conversation on Friday of, does this have the Arkansas game feel to it from last year? Of road game, probably a team you should beat, but had a little trap game feel to it. And they walked in there with the cowbells and everything, and they got punched in the mouth a couple of times. I thought after the fake punt that Mississippi State ran and got the first down, I was ready to start texting some people. Vols are in trouble. And then a couple plays later, they get the scoop and score to get them right back into the game. It was a back and forth game, went to overtime, and the Vols end up pulling it out and winning the game. That it feels massive for Tennessee because that's a loss that could derail your season. If you're at 2 losses, you got to run the table the rest of the way in order to make the playoffs. And it's just tough to do that in the SEC with the types of opponents that you have to play. Like, you still have to play at Alabama. Oklahoma is a top 5 team in the country right now. You've got to play them at home. You got to play Vanderbilt. You got to go to the Swamp against Florida. Like, it's tough to say after week 5 that it's like, all right, well, you've lost 2 games. You got to win out. And it's just not realistic to say that. So that is a massive win for them. You know, it went to overtime, but it counts exactly the same in the win column. I thought it was impressive to see Josh Heupel and that crew when it looked multiple times like they could have lost that game. Like, there were a few times where I thought it was looking like it was over for Tennessee. They battled back. They won the game. Now you're 4-1 with a bye week before you face Arkansas at home, then Alabama on the road coming up on the 3rd Saturday in October.
Just win. No matter how ugly, no matter how gritty it has to be, just win. And after I watched this game, I'm like, man, that Georgia loss stings just a little bit more because this team could have more wiggle room, more leeway, be 5-0, be a top 10 team in the country. And you're right. This was a game that they had to win. And we know Josh Heupel's record at home. It's very, very good. However, the record on the road, pretty bad. And in Mississippi State, to me, this was the trap game. You avoided it, and you found a way to overcome. I think this is a big win for the program. And if you would have lost to Mississippi State, just think about what's ahead. You have to play Oklahoma. Luckily, that one is at home. You have to play at Alabama, and you have to play at Florida. And you would have to win out if you want a shot in the playoff. Right. So that just goes to show how vital this win was for Tennessee.
Yes, it was huge to just pull that one out. You know, there are no pictures in box scores, no pictures in the standings at the end of the year, no matter how it looks. Tennessee got the win in Starkville this weekend. We'll have to get Nick Frazier's thoughts tomorrow on Tony Tuesdays as he joins us for the full show on his Bulldogs. I mean, they look good. I got to give credit to Jeff Lebby and that crew down there in Starkville because that's a team that was pretty much universally picked to be the worst team in the SEC, and they have seriously upgraded that team this year in terms of talent and the way they play the games. I mean, you could be 5-0 with 2 top 15 wins on your resume if they had won that game. And you know, you come up short in overtime at home, but Mississippi State clearly seems to be heading in the right direction. And I thought that was apparent on Saturday.
Yeah, they were predicted to win 3.5 games. That was their over-under win total before the season started, and they eclipsed that in 4 games.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is a really good football team. Why they weren't ranked, I have no earthly idea. I still think they're a very good team, and they're going to give problems to a lot of teams that they're going to see later on in the schedule. Their run game looked really good. I think Blake Shapen is a perfect quarterback for that system. They have a very talented quarterback kind of in the shadows, so that's going to be good for Jeff Levy. But he's got this program going in the right direction, no doubt.
For sure. And, the cowbells are annoying. I saw it might have even been Robbie Stanley who tweeted this. I forget who it was. Tweeted that it's like the Southeastern Conference vuvuzela is like the cowbells. And I know they're supposed to stop using them when the center gets over the ball. Is that the rule? Something like that? Like they're supposed to stop using them when the center gets over the ball, but I don't think anyone actually follows that.
Wait, I'm sorry, I tuned out for a second.
The cowbells.
Oh yeah. No, that is the rule. They have to when the quarterback gets under center, they have to stop ringing the cowbells. And actually, the fans, they did a really great job of showing good sportsmanship in that aspect where they stopped. And I was thinking to myself as I was watching the game, those cowbells, like even through my screen, like I felt like I was there. That's got to be so annoying for an opposing team. It has to be.
I mean, it's a very unique atmosphere because of that, and no one else has really recreated it. And it's cool. It's cool. It's maybe not the best sound to hear coming through your TV, but it definitely makes it hard on opposing teams. Tennessee able to escape in Starkville over the weekend. They improved to 4-1 again. Bye week here. I think it's an important bye week for Tennessee. You can kind of regroup, look back at what has been an impressive first 5 weeks of the year. Then you get Arkansas just made a coaching change as well. Bringing Bobby Petrino back he was there, but he's the interim head coach now. As long as you can keep him away from motorcycles, I think he'll be okay. And then you've got Alabama coming up in just a couple of weeks down in Tuscaloosa. So Tennessee, 4-1, continue to keep their playoff hopes alive with a road win at Mississippi State on Saturday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any thoughts on the Titans, college football, we'll take all of it. Last call for phones here as we wrap up the show coming up next. We'll give our final Titans thoughts at the end. Also, I do want to talk about the Ryder Cup for just a couple of seconds because that was almost one of the greatest comebacks of all time yesterday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Final segment on this Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly alongside you. Chase and Big Joe are coming up right after us here on 102.5 The Game. Again tomorrow, Tony Tuesday. Nick Frazier going to join us, at least I believe so, for the full show. So excited to have his thoughts. We did get a text from my friend Brandon in Hermitage talking about how our baseball teams made it to the postseason. Tigers and Jays in the ALCS, maybe. We'll talk some baseball with Nick Frazier tomorrow as the playoffs start. But, of course, plenty of Titans and college football talk as well. Did want to touch on the Ryder Cup before we got out of here. Did you watch any of the Ryder Cup? I don't know if are you a big golf guy, Parker?
I'd classify myself as a casual golf fan.
Yeah.
I love to play golf, but I am not a diehard.
You're not like Robbie Stanley.
Yeah, I'm not a Robbie Stanley. I did have it on this weekend. I watched pretty intently on Friday. Did not watch any on Saturday because, I'm locked into college football. On Sunday, I did have it on in the background, but did not pay much attention.
I got to say, Friday and Saturday was tough for me to pay much attention. I did watch some, but I didn't get to watch a ton. And, when I'm hearing, all I was seeing was that Europe was dominating. I didn't have much of a reason to tune in. But after the Titans game yesterday ended, I saw a couple of tweets about a U.S. comeback starting, and I tuned in. And, it was getting electric there for a second when Cam Young made a putt. Then Justin Thomas made a putt to win points on the 18th. And Bryson DeChambeau came back from 5 down to come back and tie it and get a split. It was so close to the U.S. getting down to the final couple of matches with a chance to pull off the biggest comeback in Ryder Cup history. That's one of the cooler events that's out there. The team golf and those, you could just tell from the interviews with those golfers after they finished up how much it meant to them. And I love it. It stinks for the U.S. that they lost on their home turf. I believe that's the first road Ryder Cup win in almost 15 years. So it's tough for the U.S. They almost made a comeback. They fall short. But almost, I was watching. I was locked in. I turned off the 4:00 games for a little bit there. I was locked in on golf. Thought we were going to get a comeback. Shane Lowry ended up making the putt to get the winning point for Europe. I did see Rory McIlroy was complaining about the crowd at the Ryder Cup this weekend. And from what I saw, it did seem a little bit hostile. Like, there's a difference between supporting your team and, some playful banter back and forth with the other golfers. But from what Rory McIlroy was saying, apparently it was very hostile up in New York this week. And, I don't doubt that some of the golf guys who showed up to the Ryder Cup weren't exactly being the most respectful people out there. But anyway, it was a good event. I thought the U.S. had a shot at it there. We'll see in 2 years, I should say 2 years, when the Ryder Cup is in Ireland, I believe I saw. So always a fun event. Final Titans thoughts here before we wrap up the show. Brian Callahan expected to speak coming up this afternoon after the 26-0 loss to the Houston Texans. And Parker, we've had the conversation about exit ramps with when you could get out of the marriage with Brian Callahan. When could the Callahan era end in Nashville? It felt like this was one of them. You're playing your hated rival. The owner hates losing to Houston. She basically put away the throwbacks because the Titans couldn't beat Houston in the Oilers uniforms. And I'm surprised that he is not gone. And again, we were asked the question of, like, what are the odds that he speaks to the media today and is fired tomorrow? I think very low, right? Like, I understand the whole thing about Tuesdays is when Amy usually makes those decisions. It's not zero, but it's very low. I cannot imagine that they're sending him out there to speak and then firing him tomorrow.
No, I think this would be handled like the Vrabel situation where they just postpone it and then they're like, ultimately, we're going to fire you.
But that was after the season where it's like there's no harm in waiting an extra day. There is harm in waiting an extra day today. If they were going to fire him, I think it would have been done by now. So I'm gonna say very, very low that Brian Callahan is let go tomorrow. The chances aren't zero because we really don't know what this ownership group wants to do. But I I think the next exit ramp is probably at the end of this road trip. Like, he's not going to, if you're not going to fire him after today, you're not going to fire him after the Arizona game, unless it's just a complete and utter disaster. Like, I mean, we've seen some disasters already this season, but unless it's like Brian Callahan personally cost the team 14 points and they lose 48-0, like, I think that's the only way that I could see Brian Callahan getting fired after the Arizona game. If you're going to give him this week, you're going to give him the Vegas week too.
I don't know. Time's ticking, though. It's going to happen at some point, sooner rather than later, hopefully. But
it's just, I mean, it's frustrating to have this conversation over and over of just like, when is it going to happen, instead of actually talking about the team? Because I feel like if they just move on, we can start to focus in on what this team can do better. And Cam Ward is obviously the focus. I thought Corey Curtis put it perfectly last week when he was on, and again, Corey's on every Wednesday with us, that every decision you make has to be for what's in the best interest of the quarterback. And now that Brian Callahan's not calling plays, and I know there's more to the development of the quarterback than game planning and play calling, 100%. But now that he's not calling plays, it feels like you've kind of soft launched this firing, and like, I think you could get away with it. And does it seem like Brian Callahan's helping with Cam Ward? Like, is Cam Ward getting better right now? I would argue he's gotten worse since the beginning of the year. And again, game by game, it's not going to be linear progress for Cam Ward, but I don't think you're going to be stunting his growth by letting go of Brian Callahan. I think sooner rather than later, you should make the move, but you know, it's not up to me. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the same result. The Titans are almost certainly going to be looking for a new head coach for next year. So it's just a matter of how many weeks of an interim head coach do you want?
And what has gotten better from last year to this year, at least through, again, we only have 4 games to go off of, but nothing has looked better. In fact, things have gotten worse. And I've made the comparison, you know, going back to the Ken Wisenhunt days, you could say that under Ken Wisenhunt, the roster was far less talented than what Brian Callahan currently has to work with. And if you're getting a less than result compared to what Ken Wisenhunt was able to do during his tenure, it ultimately boils down to coaching.
It's a good point. We did go through the Ken Wisenhunt team, and like that offense, maybe it's recency bias, but that offense from Wisenhunt's final year in 2015 was horrible. There was no star power anywhere. I mean, Calvin Ridley is supposed to be a top 25 wide receiver in the league. Like, that's what he's supposed to be. That's what you're paying him to be. Tony Pollard is an established running back. You've invested a ton in the offensive line. You've used draft picks at other spots on the offense. It should be better than this. You should not be shut out by the Houston Texans yesterday.
Nope. And especially when your owner hates losing in Houston, you make a coordinator change, you're trying all these different things. Special teams sure has looked better, but that's because Bones Fossil is one of the best special teams coordinators in the league. Bill Callahan, I still believe he's at the top of his game in terms of being a developer of offensive linemen, but we haven't seen that.
Yep.
And that's the frustrating part.
Yeah. You brought him in thinking he would fix it, especially with the type of talent that you've brought in around into that room, and it just hasn't worked out. 9013 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, asks, how much difference will a new coach make given the roster? Not much. They're not going to win many games this year, but I think just getting it out of the way and trying to have a fresh start, I think could help. And you just wonder, given the mistakes that Callahan's made, how long until that locker room stops believing in him?
Yeah.
Like, that's a question.
And I think Corey Curtis made an excellent point last week. If you fire Callahan and you promote somebody from within as interim, in the short term, that first 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks, I think you'll see a boost in the team's energy because they're playing for another guy. But that may fizzle out and not last long. We saw that with the Raiders when they promoted Antonio Pierce. Like, that type of stuff happens. It may not be long, but at least you'll get a little bit of a kickstart.
I think it's also a wake-up call for a lot of guys of like, oh, if he's gone, then maybe I've got to start to figure my stuff out too. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Appreciate everybody who called and texted today. Lots of reaction from the Titans. We'll have more tomorrow, along with more college football thoughts. Nick Frazier going to join us. Excited for that tomorrow. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next here on 1025 The Game.